motherfucking Poe. I'm at school. Y'all, this has been, excuse me, at the time of this recording, yesterday was my first day of school. Today is my second day of school. And tomorrow is my motherfucking birthday, okay? But by the time y'all listen and hear this, it's already my birthday and I'm already 28. And let me tell y'all, okay, I have so much that I want to talk about, but I don't at the same time. I'm also in the library and I don't know if people could hear me, so I'm trying to be quiet, but like not too quiet. You feel what I'm saying? I don't know. This seems to say that it's recording, but like the sound waves ain't sound waving how it do. And I'll be damned if I record a whole hour episode and this shit. Let me see if I play with that a little bit. I can hear myself more, but the sound waves still don't look like they doing what they need to do. So I'm gonna just hope for the best. I don't even know. I don't think so. This episode is now current and up to date. The last episode that I recorded was Mass Murder Turtles, which was 2 weeks ago at this point. And then last week's episode, Recording from the Void, released today. Well, last week today, because, yeah. But like while I'm recording this, it released today. Anyway, I don't really think that I have any corrections or anything from Mass Murder Turtles. And like I was so pissed because when I was editing that, everything was going well, and then my computer, it picks and chooses when it don't want to have space no more, and when it don't have space, it be making my life so fucking difficult. So I ended up uploading it late, and I didn't even end up making no reels from the bitch because I had them laid out the first time, but then my computer started acting all crazy, and I was like, fuck it, I just want to put it out. So I don't even have any reels from that. I'll eventually go back, because I was thinking about it. I mentioned it in Recording from the Void that like around this time last year, I ended up taking an involuntary break. And it, at the time that I did that, I was thinking like I'm gonna take a month or two off, and it ended up being several months. And so I came back in January, and then I'm like, now here I'm a year later, and I'm in some ways a better place, in other ways not really. And I'm like, I don't feel like I need to take a break. But then I was kind of thinking about it, and I was like, I think I am gonna take a break. But I'm thinking more so after the election. So probably around like November, December, maybe. But I think I am gonna take a break. When I wanna, I guess what I'm trying to say is I wanna go up until the election in November, and then take like November, December, and potentially part of January off, or I might take like, I don't know, we'll just see, because like I said, it's my first week of school, and the difference between last year and this year is last year I had technically 3 classes. Well, I had 3 classes and internship, because, and I say technically because one of them was just like, we called it was like internship 1 and internship 2, which is basically just supervision, and we just come in and we all share like different things that we're dealing with at our internship sites. And since I don't have an internship this year, I don't have that class. So I am taking group therapy, and which is what I had last night, and then I'm taking social and cultural diversity, which will be today. And I'm really intrigued of how those classes will go. I actually, and of course, I probably, for whatever reason, my laptop doesn't want to connect to the internet. Are we there? I thought it was interesting that I'll try to pull it up, but for my social cultural class, the first 2 chapters are 2 different books we had to read. One of them was specifically talking, but there was like a section that was talking about like the 2016 election with Trump, and how that really brought to light a lot of bigotry and racism and all the other isms that America has. And I'm like, here we are 8 years later, right back where like essentially what that chapter was talking about. So I thought that was interesting, and I don't remember because I have the PDF version and it was just like my professor just uploaded the chapter. So I don't remember when this book was written. Like, was this book written between 2016 and 2020 while Trump was still president, or was it written like after Biden came in? So it was like, we had to deal with him in 2016 versus Hillary, and like what that really brought to light in people, and then how we had to live through it again in this like state of fear when it was him versus Biden. And then like here we are yet again 8 years later from the initial, and it was like this, and like I talked about it in, I don't remember what episode, but just like that fear that I was feeling when it was Biden versus Trump. And now that Kamala is here, like this sense of hope that is being restored. And how like in some ways there's still a little bit of fear though, because Trump has just kind of enlightened or emboldened so many hatred spirits. But yeah, I'll get a little bit more into election stuff towards the end because I have like notes. But yeah, I don't think there was really anything that I felt the need to correct per se from Mass Murder Turtles. I really need to stop saying that because that's a crazy title, y'all. I felt so bad. I really hope, and like the crazy part is, I'm not about to sit here and say I love turtles, right? But I do think like turtles, the ideas of turtles are cute. I don't want a pet turtle though. I fucking love Squirtle. Squirtle's a turtle. This one time we went to Hilton Head with like my grandfather, his wife, and like a couple other family members, and we had this like creek, river, whatever in the background, and it was just like a sea of turtles with so many turtles. And it was like this little itty bitty tiny turtle that me, my mom, and my brother, we named him Ricky. And so there's like some footage somewhere of me just like Ricky. And then Dixie, I don't know if she still has the turtle, but at one point in time, which might still be now, she had a turtle named Nubby, which, funny enough, she named him Nubby because, like, I guess, I don't know, are they talons? Or, I don't know what the turtle equivalent to, like, nails would be, but, like, two of them were missing, so he had, like, a little bit of a nub, and she got him around the time that I cut my thumb off. And so she made jokes about it. Or maybe, no, she got him after. Did she get him afterwards? I think she got him afterwards. But then she had made the joke of like, oh, he's nubby just like you. And I'm like, bitch, fuck you. But anyway. Enough about turtles. Yeah, I mean, there were some things that I feel like more on the political realm, like, which I've been talking about. This is the first time that I've ever really felt the need but also the genuine interest in politics and like policy and what are people saying and how far back does this really go. So this is like I'm learning, and what is this? I'm learning. I obviously have to have a responsibility of having a platform, of trying to make sure that like whatever I say is like informed, properly informed, and then if I make a mistake to come back. But I don't think there's anything. I think more so my critique of what the things I was saying in Mass Murder Turtles is just like I wasn't really prepared to talk about that stuff. It just kind of came up naturally, and I think just because all of this is so new to me that sometimes I just kind of feel I don't like to speak on certain topics because I feel unknowledgeable or in some instances uneducated, and I don't want to sound dumb. But then it goes back to like I have to give myself grace that I'm trying, and I'm learning. And you all are like, if you're not into politics, first of all, if you're into politics and a bitch is like saying crazy stuff, send me a motherfucking correction. Like, what? Crowd participation. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, right? But nicely, because I have feelings and they be hurting. So if this is your jam, let me know something. But if this is not your jam and you're just like, yo, Mango, I'm here for the ride, then we in this together, you know? So that's my two piece on that. As far as last week's episode, recorded from the void, I didn't really have nothing too crazy. Um, the comment when I was talking about like don't rush challenge. So for if you didn't watch last week or listen to last week, I was talking about like how I was in the house and we had nobody told me not to take real shots. So I was in the house by myself on a Tuesday, drunk as shit, because I had to re-record like 5 times, and I took a shot all 5 times. And mind you, it wasn't like an hour apart. Like I was throwing them bitches back. I felt like it was like 5 shots within 30 minutes, like, or it was definitely less than an hour that I was just like plastered. So much to so much to the point that like, y'all, I got Popeyes. I'm not even going. I was gonna sit here and try to like wait till the end, but it's smelling so good. I know it's not good for me, but a little bit ASMR. If you don't like chewing, I'm sorry, but I'm not, cause this shit is good. Anyway, let me finish this little nugget. Um. So, what was I talking about? I was talking about don't rush. So, I'm drunk as shit, and I'm getting to the point where I'm like, yo, like, what's going on? So I had to go, like, throw up, because it was just too much. So, so I go in the bathroom, and I lift the toilet seat. Why that bitch come flying back down and hit me directly in the nose? Like, a bitch almost passed out. It was crazy. It was so crazy. And when I said something, that's when I said something to them, and it was like, bitch, why the fuck did you take real shots in the first place? And I was like, y'all know I just be doing shit. Like, nobody gave me the memo. So honestly, if anybody's to blame, it's y'all, because y'all didn't look out for the kid. You know what I'm saying? I was a little bit like, I like the background, because the other background option. Oh, for those of y'all listening, I'm trying to adjust the light. I like this background because the other background, it was, it's like a plain wall and like a whiteboard, and I didn't really like it. And so I was nervous to sit right in front of the window because, you know, the backlight, I don't know. I'm going to just leave it how it was, because maybe it's really not as bad. Oops. It's not as bad. Oh my God. There we go. The current background is more interesting than what the alternative background is. But I was like, I don't know if y'all could see me, because, like, you know, you're supposed to have the light in front of you, not behind you. And I could have the I could have the light in front of me, but one, it was somebody sitting like in the main lobby of the library, and I want like other people on camera, and two, you could also see my school's information, and we on the interest of net, so y'all don't need to know that anyway. um so that was the don't rush challenge. The other thing was, I really am so over moving. The next time I move, it's movers. I'm not touching anything. Like, I'll touch the loose stuff because it is a bunch. I've been back and forth to my storage unit a few times, and there's stuff just like out there. So like, I'll take the loose stuff and put it into my abode. But all of these large items, no, I'm not touching it. I don't have the physical strength, the emotional capacity, none of that. I never want to move stuff again. Y'all, I don't need to, I'm sorry. Let me just put this down somewhere. Okay, there we go. There we go. And then the other, okay, so I also forgot to mention this about how crazy my move out process was. So, if you listened last week, I had mentioned how it was the day of my car got towed, and then I had the fucking neighbor who really wasn't that much help. And then later that week, that's when I had to come back to finish moving stuff. And I talked about how my car broke down, as it always does. And it was so funny because I celebrated. It's been a year since my friend Chris passed, and so we had a celebration of life at the burial site last week. And somebody came up to me and was like, "Yeah, girl, like, how's your car doing? What happened?" And I was like, "What time?" Like, my car breaks down so often that like I just lose track of what we're even talking about anymore. And she was like, "The last time." And I was like, "But when was the last time? Like, it's always." And so we really sat there, like, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little high, so I was already out of it and just like not really, just I was just like trying to feel the spirits, you know, like be one with the universe, right? And like I was just in another space. She talking to me, asking me about this, and I'm just like, "I hear you, but I genuinely don't know what time you're referring to." And she was like, "The last time." And I was like, "When was the last time?" But we figured out she meant like when I went to the birthday party and my axles broke, like the most recent last time. But my brain just wasn't getting there. Anyway, um, so before my car broke down that day, earlier that day, I had like came to the apartment, took some shit, went to storage, went back to the apartment so I could take some more shit, right? And then it was the plan to like go get dressed and go to I think I might have had like, because I think I was actually trying to get all of my shit that day. So it might have been an instance where it was like I put stuff in my car, went to storage, came back, put more stuff in my car, and then I was about to go upstairs and I think get like a couple more things. I don't really remember. Um, and then that's when a bitch locked herself out the apartment, bro. I was like, what the fuck? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, I called my mom, already knowing that she was like, "Why you always locking yourself out? And da da da, you can't keep track of shit. What's going on with you?" And I was just like mentally preparing myself for that. I called her. She didn't give me as much as I think that I thought she was gonna give me. And then she like, "Well, I don't know what you want me to do, cause I'm out in Hagerstown. I'm over an hour away." Mind you, like she was still on en route to where she was going. So like she was like, I didn't drive out here for nothing. She hit me with the Denzel, like I'm leaving here with something. So I was like, I can't even be mad at you. Do you like go like, you know, like you still on the way. You need to get there. So I'm really gonna be waiting. So I called my landlord, and my landlord is like, "Yeah, I'm over an hour away in the opposite direction past Waldorf." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I'm sitting here and don't nobody got a spare key but my mama, my landlord, and me. And my spare key, like I ain't have my keys at all because my spare key was in my car, which normally it's not in my car, but I'm not going to get into the mechanics of it, but instead of where it usually was, it was inside of my car. And now I don't have my house key, I don't have my car key, like, and I didn't have my fob. So when I realized I didn't have my key when I was standing outside the building and I was waiting for anybody to come open the door for me. So I get there and I'm just like, what the fuck is even life? Nobody can come help me. So I start calling around the locksmiths trying to see just like how much would it cost. And my mom talking about, "Do you have locksmith money?" And I was like, "Well, I guess I'm gonna have to, because how else am I gonna get in here?" So I'm literally just sitting in the hallway. I can't do shit. So I'm calling locksmiths, and they're like, they refuse to give me a quote. "We're gonna have a technician call you." I'm still waiting on a call from that fucking technician. So this is like, I think I mentioned to y'all in the episode where the house was on fire, or the building was on fire, um, how the apartments are connected. And I've always had this fear that really wasn't irrational about, like, I used to have nightmares of people being on my balcony, like coming in to like kill me, rape me, whatever. Like, I was petrified. So I tried not to really talk too much about it while I was living there because I just didn't want people to know. And when I got locked out back in February, when me and one of my partners, like, I think I went downstairs to go get him. We come back upstairs and like my key just legit wouldn't work. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. The key would go in, but it would not turn. And it was the right key. It's the key I've been using for years. Like, so we was both just like flabbergasted and stuck outside my apartment. And it was the same thing. Like, what was it? I don't think why it was, I think it was just like it was way past nighttime for my mom. And like the other problem was that, like, what if it's just like it's the key? Like, it's not even like I don't have the key just won't turn. So I would really hate to wake my mama up at like 10, 11 o'clock at night asking her to drive in the fucking dark and shit, and her key don't even work. So we sitting here trying to figure it out. I'm trying to call the rental office, or not the rental office, it's like a condo association. So I'm trying to call them. And apparently at some point in time, they switched their main office number to some emergency line that's really not an emergency hotline because they don't be helping with shit. Everybody be confused. And they were like, oh, we're going to send somebody out. I'm also still waiting on a call from that day. So eventually, like, I ended up calling my landlord and she called a locksmith, and then they had to like literally like destroy my doorknob and take the doorknob off the door to get me back in the building or get me back in my house, and then I had to get a new key. But before we had got to that, like, I really didn't want to, but I knocked on my neighbor's door to see if they were there and would let me through, but they never ended up answering, which I was like low-key thankful for, because again, it wasn't really what I wanted to do. But in this instance, when I was locked out, I was like, well, a bitch moving and we just gonna try again. So I went and I was knocking on the door for a while, and eventually he came and I was like, hey, like, do you mind? I'm locked in my apartment, can I go through? And he was confused. I guess he didn't know that you could do that. He was like, oh, like, you're just gonna go through? And I was like, yeah. He was like, okay. So I moseyed on through and got back in my stuff. And by that point, I was like, I'm over this fucking apartment. So then I left. Then I went to the birthday party, and then my car broke down. So that was my move out process. Then a bitch, I'm mad too. Anybody, if you are associated or work with bioplasma, y'all can go to fuck the hell. I want y'all to know that, okay? Because I'm just really upset. That week, so I was dealing with all that, got my car back, everything was cool. So then I'm like, you know what? A bitch gonna try to donate plasma, help the society and get a little change in my pocket, right? And so I go, I'm doing everything, filling out all the paperwork, and this fucking doctor. So first, when I was filling out, so let me preface this with I've said it in an episode that I did not release, but I'm on PrEP. I've been taking PrEP since April, and PrEP, for anybody who does not know, is pre-exposure prophylaxis, and it is a medication that you take to prevent HIV. So I've been taking it since April. I haven't experienced any side effects. I guess the biggest thing is just like, I'm not always, you do have to take it every day, and I'm not the best at remembering to take it every day. And so I have thought about trying to switch to like taking the injection version, which is a shot. I always forget how often. I know the number 2 is in there. I feel like it's every 2 months, so you have to go like 6 times a year to get it. So it's 6 shots a year, I believe. Let me Google that. So I can just make sure that I'm right and I don't have to come correct it on the back end. PrEP. All these boxes on my damn screen. Yes. So you get this is the thing. Yes, it's 6 shots per year. But that's only 5 right there. You get like month 1, month 2, and then at the 4th month you get a shot. Then at the 6th month you get a shot, and then at the 8th month you get a shot. So I guess 5 to 6, 5 to 5 to 6 shots per year. It's not very clear, but you shouldn't be getting more than 6 shots per year. So anyway, why did I start talking about this? God damn it. Bioplasma. So did that, and like in the screening paperwork and all that stuff, it says like, if you take any of these medications, you're ineligible, blah, blah, blah. So it specifically said that if you take the shot version of PrEP, that you cannot donate plasma. Cool. I'll go in, do like the second part of the screening, where it's so frustrating. All of these systems that are in place, it's like, what the fuck did I fill out a questionnaire for? This is just like when you're applying for jobs. What the fuck did I upload my resume for if you want me to then input by hand all the shit that's on my resume? What the fuck was the point? Then when I go to doctor's office, you want me to fill out this screening thing just for you to ask me the same questions. What the fuck? So if you work in the healthcare field, or if you're a hired like HR and you hire people, please explain to me the purpose. Like, besides wasting my time, what is the purpose? So anyway, so the nurse who's like doing my intake, she already off the bat, I was like, something don't feel right about you. So I'm guessing she was new, because she was like, oh, I need my supervisor to be in here and basically observe. Is that okay with you? I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So the supervisor come in. So she keep asking me all these questions, like, about my health history. And she starts asking about medication. And I'm like, well, I take PrEP, which is Truvada. And I was like, so I take Truvada, and I was like, I have the Nexplanon implant. So she's like, oh, can you spell this? What the fuck? So you got me spelling shit, and then she just keeps, what? So you don't seem to know anything. And so I have to keep, like, y'all, she legit asked me 5 times what medications I was on and what they're for. How many times do I have to fucking repeat it? Then her fucking supervisor, when they were asking me, she was like, oh, Truvada, you take it orally? I was like, yes, I take it orally every day. um, so then after I've been here for an hour, she's like, oh, I'm sorry, you can't donate plasma because you take this medicine. You're gonna have to get a letter from your doctor saying that you stopped the medication before you can donate plasma. And I'm just like, so y'all really let me sit here for an hour knowing that? Like, nowhere did it say that I wasn't going to be able to. And as a supervisor, for your supervisor to ask me and to double check to make sure that I take it orally, for like, what? And so I guess I'm just really pissed off because, one, like, we could have stopped this a long time ago. And y'all don't compensate unless you actually donate plasma. And I just feel like, for at least the screening part of that, I took a lunch break. I had other things I could have been doing. And y'all did some dumb shit like that. Like, that really just pissed me off. And so I was like, so what? That's it? She's like, yeah, that's it. I'm sorry. Meet me in the fucking parking lot, ho. I was so mad. And I be trying not to beat people up or like be mean. So I just had to I just picked my shit up and left. And I was like, you know what? That's why I'm extra glad when you left the room, I took extra snacks. Cause I was I'm leaving here with something, okay? So I walked out with extra goldfish. Cause y'all not about to play me like that. I was pissed. Yeah, and I'm just like, you would think that, because Truvada, they do have a medication. And again, if you're in the healthcare field and you're like, bitch, you just talking, you not talking about nothing for real, send corrections, send stories, questions, topics, and corrections to 2scripters1poll@gmail.com. But I don't know if Truvada's like the same medication I know that they're like, okay, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I know that if you do have HIV, that there's a medication called Truvada. And I don't know if it's like the exact same, but when I was taking it, like when I was looking at the screening, it didn't say anything about taking the medication. And again, the reason why, and even if it is like the same, because I know they were saying like if you have certain conditions, you can't. Obviously, if I had HIV, I wouldn't be able to donate plasma. And so I'm like, I don't have HIV. I'm trying to prevent it. You would think that that would make, like, you would want me to be able to donate, but whatever. So that was my little stint, and I don't really remember how I got there. But yeah, y'all. So I guess what can I talk about? I have notes on the DNC. So like the first day of the DNC, I honestly didn't even realize that it was happening. I'm not even gonna hold you. Um, I was at my mama house and she was watching it, or she turned on the TV because I think I might have came over late, and so I turned on the TV, and I think it was like Kamala's best friend and somebody else. I don't remember who, but they were talking. So I watched from like there to the end of Joe Biden's speech. And then the second day I missed because I was at my baby Zaddy Usher concert. And I don't remember if I mentioned that in Mass Murder Turtles, but he opened up to Daddy's home. And Daddy was home, okay? With his Usher, you so fine, baby. You so fucking fine. You so fucking fine. So so I missed day 2 with the Obamas, and then day 3, I think, what day was that? That was a Wednesday. What was I doing that day? Cause, I don't remember what I was doing that Wednesday, but I don't think I saw all of it that day either. I might not have even saw it all, but what was I possibly doing that day? I can't remember. And then the last day of it, where Kamala actually talked, I did watch that. And so a couple of things that I was also kind of watching, like the recaps, and something that really stood out to me. I can't remember when he went, but Bill Clinton. Something that really stood out to me in his speech was, you know, when you're listening to Donald Trump talk, listen, like count the eyes in his statement and how like it's me, 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 me. And it really is. It was such a stark contrast of like how self-centered this man is. And when you really start listening to him talk in any kind of like anything, it is I did this, I did this, I did this. Like, but really you be lying, you a lying ass nigga. You didn't do half the shit you be talking about. And let me see, something that had kind of caught me the last day. It was like a couple of things that kind of like when Oprah was talking, and it threw me off a little bit because she was like that she's a registered independent, and I was like, huh? And it was funny because they cut to some woman in the crowd who was like, the fuck. Why would you say that at a Democratic convention? Like, we're here for the Democrats. But as she continued on, and like part of what Kamala has been saying is like, that whether you support me or not, like I'm here for you. I'm for the betterment. And obviously, like, I think it just excuse me. Let me see. Y'all, I have a lot of notes right here. And it's been a while since I looked at these notes. So I'm trying to sit here and figure out like what was I even talking about? Like I have Bill Clinton Obama's Tuesday night. I did want to come back and talk about like in Mass Murder Turtles, I was talking about like Charleston. I think I meant to say Charleston, not Charlottesville. And this comment that this white girl. Oh no. Oh, that's okay. Um. So, uh, I have like realized they're right. Oh, okay. So I kind of remember some of these things. But yeah, like Oprah's thing about being an independent voter kind of threw me left. But then I was like, oh, okay, I realized what she's saying, that like this is like I'm choosing to give my vote here because this is a person that is who is this? I don't even know who this is. I'm gonna have to look at my phone. Whose birthday is that day? Y'all, I'm sorry. I'm just getting all these text messages and I don't even know what's going on. And why people asking me to do stuff? Ugh. Um, Voters Rights Act choice. It's the okay. So I think these are critiques on mass murder turtle and some of the things that have happened since then. Because I was talking about, okay, so pause on what I was talking about. I was talking about the DNC. But I apparently did have notes that I wanted to recap from Mass Murder Turtles, and it's not that important. But I noticed I was moving a lot. But y'all, I've been having a lot of fun with press on nails. So I had my first set of press on nails, and I just felt like I just needed to move my hands a lot. Um, and um, let me see. I wrote something down about education and how like we need to learn through exploration and curiosity and like feeling and like dissecting history, learning from history. How do we move forward from history? And yes, I think math and science are important, but I feel like the more important things like genetics and biology is mandatory. Chemistry can be argued like, is it really that necessary? I feel like out of the sciences, I feel like chemistry, and I know some people are probably chemists and mad, but like I don't feel like chemistry really plays a huge part in my day to day. Biology, yes. I think genetics should not be an elective. That should be a course that we're required to take. And then like basic math, learning how to read and things like that are important. But like I feel like a lot of the electives are things that we need to be learning. But like after I guess algebra one and even algebra one, whatever, like we don't need to have all those other maths, you know. But some people might be mad. I think I might have said umbrella chain reaction or somebody. I don't know why I have this quoted. I need to take better notes. Um, but anywho, so back to the DNC. I have realized they're right in quotation marks, and if I'm remembering correctly, that was when Kamala spoke and she was talking about Israel and what's happening in Gaza. And of course, that was something that I had my ear out for, and I'm sure a lot of people did. And I was I don't really I think if I had to give like a non-judgmental critique of how she said it, I think what she did do a good job of is like separating the terrorist group Hamas from Palestinian people and getting people to understand that what happened was Hamas attacked Israel and Israel was fighting back and defending themselves, right? And so Israel has this right to defend themselves and their people and their country. And then she was saying that and like she kind of tacked it off with like the Palestinian people to realize their right to like self-declaration and to be able to run their own country. And so grammatically speaking, it's like if you don't really understand what has been going on in Gaza, the roots of it, and all of like the war, I think that it lays out like, okay, this happened to it explains the chain reaction of everything. But how it was said, it also feels very, very supportive of like what is continuing to happen at like through the hands of Israel to the Palestinian people. And it's like, okay, well, it still does not, to me, it still does not justify like for the past year destroying innocent people's lives. So many people have died and been hurt, and like just like all everything that we've seen of the images and video footage of like what has been going on in Gaza, like that still doesn't make any sense to me. And then it was like when you look at the word realize, like at first I was like, what she mean realize they're right? Like, duh, they have a right. But realize in that sense is like to make come true, to make this happen. Like we are going to take this and make this like this is, we are independent, we are self-governing, so on and so forth. I also was like, I didn't really know how I felt about her talking about like us being the most lethal and da da da. Like, why does war exist? Capitalism, greedy motherfuckers. Like, it just, ah, 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 ah. That's my frustration. I don't know if I really cared for D.L. Hughley. Like, I was a little bit, I was kind of like, this is interesting. And for him, like he came on stage and basically apologized, like I was talking shit. Then I Googled some stuff and found out some stuff and realized like I shouldn't have been saying the things I was saying. And I saw some people critiquing him on Twitter, like, how do you have a whole platform? And this goes back to like how I opened it up about saying like, obviously a lot of my opinion and my experiences formulate how I run this podcast and the things I say and what I even choose to entertain. And I try to do my due diligence of like, maybe sometimes I don't always come into episodes prepared with like super informative notes, but when I do, I do. And I at least try to either in the moment look it up or come back and be like, y'all, I said this and this is, but I try not, or if I start going down a path where I'm like, okay, I really don't know what I'm talking about, I acknowledge like I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'll come back to it later. And I think for the most part, I do. I don't know if there's a really too much that like I've just left to the wind. But I say all that to say is like he was like, yeah, I went and Googled something I've never done. What do you mean? What do you mean? And for you to have like this platform and to just be like speaking aimlessly, that's crazy. But so many people do it. So many people do it. And oh, I don't even know. I don't know. So like do your research before you just start talking willy-nilly and trying to influence people and do whatever. What else? Like I thought it was really cute that her nieces came and like taught everybody how to say her name. Carrie Washington. What is that? I started writing something, but I guess I stopped writing it. I I don't know. I liked it, but it was also like kind of cringe. I was like, what is happening? But, I saw the purpose. I saw the purposes of it. I do plan to like go back and rewatch that. At today, the day of this recording, I'll miss it because I'll be in class. But Kamala and Tim have their first interview since they've been nominated. And right now the critique has been like, oh, well, why can't she do it by herself? Why does she need this? And da da da. And like other people talking about how like, she's come out and said that she doesn't really interview well. And so they're really like looking to this and like, is she ever going to do it by herself? And I think something else that we do me to remember with all of this is that like a cup like this is all new. This is like been the past month, maybe going on two, for basically I don't really remember when the whole political race started, to be honest, because the months just be going, but like we all started this. Even when I started talking about the election, like I was still talking about Joe Biden. So this is all so new. They had to like the Democratic convention was planned for Joe Biden in mind. And then when that changed, they had to like come back and cater it to Kamala and her ticket. So I think that people are really like, there needs to be some grace there of like, for this to be such a last minute change. I think they're doing great. And like, just the state of how all these things have changed, um, the view. Like, I remember talking about, at one point it was really this like fear that it was like people were voting, and I saw something on CNN about like when they did a voters poll, it was like a lot of people were voting out of fear and anger, and now a lot of people are voting out of hope. And yeah, so it's like, we have what, 70 something, I don't know off the top of my, let me Google it, how many days as of right now, how many days until there are 67 days. So we're literally like 2 months out, more or less, from the election. And Donald Trump has had like the past year, I think, I don't remember exactly how long we've been doing this, but he's had a lot more leeway. And for that first half of everything, it was Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden. So they have to like change things around because Joe Biden is no longer going to be in this administration at all. So I just feel like people really aren't given enough grace there. What else did I want to say about that? Um, and then, yeah, so by the time this episode releases, the interview will already have happened. So I have to go back and watch it because it's tonight. And then I think this comes out the week before the debate between Kamala and Trump. If that even happens, though, because Trump and her have been going back and forth about like whether the mic should be muted or not, right? And that's just like interesting in and of itself of like, you know, over the years we've heard and like people, I've seen so many ridiculous Trump supporter interviews of like a woman can't be president because like if she's on her period and she gets mad, and what if she presses the button and starts a war? And I'm like, y'all really like, the education system and the health system has really failed y'all, because y'all be, and it be women saying this too, like y'all fucking idiots. But anyway, it's the education system that has failed you. But I think one that's clearly like a bold assumption of like, how can you even say that when all we have witnessed is male presidents and male leaders, and they've been the head of war? So you can't say that because there's no evidence of that. Like, this is literally an assumption that has been fed to you. And what was the other thing? I lost my train of thought and what I was going to say. Oh, like, I think if anybody's shown how hot headed and ridiculous they are, it's fucking Trump acting like a big baby. Because even like, while Kamala was talking, this man tweeted over 40 times, just like crazy stuff. And if you really just read his tweets, like, I'm preaching to the choir, because I feel like at this point, anybody that really is like with this podcast is like, either you're deciding not to vote or you are voting for Kamala. But like, maybe I am talking to a Trump supporter, but it's like, what the fuck? Why you support that man? I don't get it. And everybody, it really pisses me off when people are like, oh, well, Joe Biden didn't give us no stimmy. Shut the fuck up. Like, I'm gonna just keep saying it. We are where we are right now because of Trump. Trump inherited Obama's 8-year economy, all that he did. And like, Obama got Bush's 8 year. Like and it goes back further than that. Like Bush did all the shit that he did, and I was coming up, so I really don't remember that. Like I remember being very briefly under Bush, and then Obama, and then Trump, and now Biden. And so it was like you had 8 years of Bush, 8 years of Obama, and then by the time Trump, like when it came time for Trump to hand over, that's when shit really started hitting the fan more so. And so Biden got left to pick up the crumbs. And Trump did so much shit in 4 years that it's like, to try to dig ourselves out of this hole. And it's so easy because the going back to education of like how, and I was at an event last weekend, and people were talking about voting. It wasn't a voters event, but people were talking about it. And these two women, I was like eavesdropping on their conversation. They were walking past, and they were saying how it's just really sad because you know all of this trickles back down to government at the local level, but we don't really get people to understand it. Like I feel like government either is one, like if you do it the educational route, it's an elective, it's something you need to be interested in, something you want to do. Or you have to take the initiative in your adult years or whenever to do that research on your own and Google stuff and watch stuff and take the time to actually sit down and figure out what the fuck does this government even mean or do. And I'll watch interviews of people and they'll ask questions which are things that you think, but like, what are the three branches of government? And people are dumbfounded, people don't know. And I just like, it's the things that people really should be learning and should have enough knowledge to make their own informed decision about. We are not teaching in schools. Instead, we are teaching for standardized testing. Something popped up on my timeline today. It was like they were comparing US schools to Finland schools, and it was like a Finland exchange student who came to America, and he was saying like the way we have so many multiple choice tests, like that's not a thing there. He was like, we hardly ever have that. And the guy was like, well, what do? And he was like, we have to know the answer. Like we have to write it in, we have to know what we're talking about. And that's like America's schools teach to the test. They don't care. Like I remember being in class one day and a student had asked, not me, this was like while I was still a student, and a student asked a teacher like, but wait, what about this? And it honestly, it was relevant because it was like, if you understood that part, then it made everything else make sense. And the teacher was like, oh, we don't have to worry about that because that's not on the test, you can skip over to the next page. What? So tired of this. And I think that's another reason why, because like I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, and it was always like 1 minute I thought I was going to be an English teacher, the next minute I thought I was going to teach math, the next minute I thought I was going to be history. It was anything that I was interested in at the time. As I've said before, like I love learning. And then there was art, but I think one of the bigger reasons of why I definitely went the route I did with art is because of like there's no prescribed form of art. Art teaches problem solving, and that's another thing of like that is something that shouldn't necessarily be like you just have to take one art class and it's usually art one and everybody's just like, oh, I fucking hate art. But like art is everywhere. Somebody had to design the stickers on my laptop. Somebody had to design the shirt I'm wearing. Somebody had to design this table. Somebody had to design these windows. Like somebody designed the phone or the computer or whatever. Like that is art. It's art. It's a different form of art, but it's art at its root. And so it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I think in terms of like from a teacher perspective, certain classes teaching to the test is easier if like you have a more clearly defined rubric, because that was definitely when I was in a classroom of like having to grade people's artwork was a struggle of like trying to come up with my own rubric of like how am I actually grading this on, right? Like because I don't want somebody to get a bad grade constantly because they don't have like artistic rendering. But like, how are they? So I had to work things into projects of like, okay, did you meet this criteria? Like, the subject is supposed to be, I know one of my projects was like do your own spirit animal or something. So like, did you follow the prompt? Did you come up with the spirit animal, or did you like fucking build a building or something like that? When I always did a social justice project every year, and that, I loved that project. Like, and I ended up, when I did that, I didn't get around to it my first year, but my second year, I didn't get around to it my third year either, because by that time I had left. So my second year, I did the social justice project, and that was during, we were still completely virtual at that point. And I got some really amazing artworks from that. I will say, like, my second year when we were virtual learning, and I had a couple classes in particular that always performed really well, but it was like to see the students who were really invested. And that's not to say, like, it was just such a crazy time. And that, I don't want to say that students weren't invested. It was just that, like, did they have the resources or the wherewithal, the emotional capacity? Because it was so much going on, and we were never given the space to process. On top of, like, if we bring politics back in, just the crazy state of like all the politics. And like, as a leader, I don't understand how people feel like, whether you like Kamala or not, whether you identify as a Democrat or not, when you look at like her versus Trump, is such a stark difference. And that's been one of the things of her platform of like, this election is so important because like, just how Trump carries himself and his ideologies, and the way his hate emboldens people is crazy. And that's so scary. Like, I have the internet now, so I can try to find that article that I had been looking at. Is this it? What is this about to pop up? No, I'm gonna have to log into my student account. Let me see. Bright space. Quick intermission. While I do this, y'all head on over to patreon.com/2scrippers1poo. What is this? Y'all adding stuff. Y'all adding this. I don't like that. Okay, I did my assignment. Why y'all adding things on this shit? Who told you to add the next 2 weeks on this hoe? The fuck? 2scrippers1poo. Patreon.com/2scrippers1poo. By the time this comes out, yeah, that'll still be my code BB Bustin' Nuts at Blessed Checkout for 30% off your next nut. Okay. Y'all, I've been masturbating like shit, and it might be because I'm supposed to start my period this week. And like, I just been horny as fuck, and I've been masturbating like a motherfucker, okay? Just trying to wink them all out before, my period come. And the other thing I noticed, I'm gonna get to it. I told y'all last week that for my birthday, I did 28 Days of Temptation. So for my birthday finale, I did this hot little video clip, right, that I still need to edit because at the time of this recording, it's releasing tomorrow on my birthday. And it was like this part where I was doing a whipped cream on the titties, and I was like, damn, my titties look good. Like, I don't know if I ever told y'all about the time I realized my titties were lopsided. So I was in undergrad. I was standing at my dorm sink, and I'm brushing my teeth, and one of my titties was touching the counter. And I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm like, one titty sitting up, the other titty is touching the counter. Like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh shit, my titties are lopsided. The right one hangs lower than the left one. So that was the first time. So the other day when I was editing the video, I was like, yo, these bitches really is still lopsided, right? But they're swollen right now because I guess I'm ovulating, and they just look so good with whipped cream on them. I was like, god damn. Okay. So this chapter, this is from, what is it? Does it say? So I don't know the book, but it's a Savneet Talwar, and that's the author. And chapter 1 is called Beyond Multiculturalism and Cultural Competence. And I don't know the book because she just uploaded a chapter. And I don't see I think it's a compilation of authors within the book. It might be called multiculturalism and cultural competence, or that might be the section. I'm not sure. I'll come in on the back end, or maybe look at the description and I'll try to put it in. But there is a paragraph, and it was saying, understanding diversity and inclusion has become even more urgent in the face of the 2016 election. In all of my years living in the US, I have never felt more unsafe and acutely aware of my existence and representation as a brown-skinned person. The tolerance and even celebration displayed by a cross-section of Americans, from political elites to blue-collar workers, in the face of the xenophobia and racism perpetuated by the 45th president is deeply disturbing. That Donald Trump has called Muslims racist Islamist terrorists, Mexicans criminals and rapists, and can make denigrating remarks about women and their bodies demonstrates clearly that racist and sexist language is acceptable, even appealing to a large segment of the electorate. Trump's popularity requires us to question what diversity and multiculturalism mean in the 21st century. His vehement attacks on racial, ethnic, gendered, and sexual minorities evoked anger and anxiety in my colleagues, students, and friends. The success of his candidacy calls to mind questions of the power, limits, and credibility of hate speech, and particularly Ahmed's 2012 inquiry into how some bodies become those of strangers. I don't know, I read that weirdly. Why do hatred and fear stick to some bodies, and which bodies have the right to citizenship? Trump's insistence that he does not believe in being politically correct points to how the politics of difference and diversity have been obfuscated and exploited. His hate speech and arrogance reveal the extent to which white privilege and power continue to operate in shaping, through affect and emotions, a collective narrative around non-white bodies. Trump uses othering to drive his narrative Trump uses othering to drive his narrative of us versus them. The brown Muslim Sikh, it's SIKH. I think it's Sikh. I'm not sure. Immigrant, undocumented, and more are not us. And in this way, he redefines who we are and what is ours. Narratives of us versus them, Ahmad in 2004 argues, threaten to take away from what you have as the legitimate subject of the nation. As the one who is the true recipient of national benefits, the narrative invites the reader to adopt the you through working on emotions. Becoming this you means developing a certain rage against the illegitimate others who are represented as swarms in the nation. The effectiveness of hate and fear in Trump's case alert us to the ways in which the work of diversity has served to identify difference, but has not uprooted the social, economy, and political conditions that continue to contribute to inequality and oppression in the U.S. And so I just felt the need to read that because, one, it was like, as I read that this morning, and I'm like, again, I don't remember when this was written, like if this was written while he was president or after we had elected Biden, but to just be back, like, it's so interesting about now I'm at a point where I'm reading history that I've lived through. And to think about like when Trump was elected in 2016, I was at work the night of the election, and we just kept like, this is when I was a server, and we kept going to the back like everybody was on their phones trying to track it. And then to wake up to find out, like I cried. I was crying. I was so sad. And to think about the state of the world and like how many people was like, oh yeah, this the president, and really started showing themselves. And I was watching something else about like a influencer, I believe, and she's more than an influencer, but Christina Brown, I think her Instagram is like Miss Tap, I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I was on her page the other day, and she was in, I didn't watch the actual podcast she was in, but her and like some other people were talking about like the idea of segregation, and how like segregation really wasn't like, if segregation was truly separate but equal, but we lack in that equality part. And I bring that up because she was talking about like, going to the African American Museum and starting from the bottom, like that was so heartbreaking. It was, if you've ever been or you plan on going, like be prepared to be a little like, to be hurt, because it's the history. The more you find out like what really happened and how much we don't learn in schools, or that are like whitewashed, is just, it's so saddening. And to think that one human being did these things to another human being off of something that was constructed. Race is a construct. And to think that you have so much hate and dislike and just truly just want to see someone else just like perish and never succeed off of their skin color is just insane to me. And so she was talking about like, this separate but equal, like if we were really given these equal opportunities, like Black people was doing fine. Like when you think about different towns that were successful, Black owned towns, Black run towns that were successful, and like there were white communities that just like were not trying to have it, and went and like burned down places, raped people, and like took this from them because they're Black. Is crazy to have all of that hate. And like, it's like, yes, Trump might be honest in his feelings, but him being honest about those and saying these crazy things, and then being put on this pedestal and given this power of like the quote unquote leader of the free world that's not really free, is like, oh, the president is doing shit like that? Oh, I can too. And so I brought up the Christina thing because she was talking about how like, she went to the African American Museum, and it was just like, it's so much trauma that you're trying to process. Meanwhile, you got white people who come that's like exasperated. Oh, I don't want to see this. I don't want to do this, or da-da-da. You got people walking around in MAGA hats in this building like, what? And this goes back to what I was saying in Mass Murder Turtles, of like, it's always this bittersweet thing when I'm in these multicultural trainings or settings, of like being one of the only people, usually like most times than not, and in this class I'll be, because the professor is not, to my knowledge, a person of color. She might be white passing, I don't know. And if you ever come across this, I've heard good things about you. I'm excited to actually take your class and work with you in this program. But to my knowledge, she's white passing. And so this will be another instance where I'm like, well, this will be the first time that I'm taking like a class that is rooted in this like multiculturalism, diversity, biases and things, as the only person of color. But I feel comfortable with this cohort, with this group of people. And I also realize, my cohort, or my program, does it. You take this class after you've been with the cohort for a year, so y'all have a better understanding of each other. But this will be the first time that I've done it like in depth. And I was reading not this article, but the second textbook that, and they were just talking about like how this book, which the book I'm referring to is Let me just go to my Dropbox and find it. Grad school textbooks. It is the Counseling the Culturally Diverse Theory and Practice by Daryl Wing Sue, David Sue, Helen Neville, I don't know, and Laura Smith. In this first chapter that I had to read for class was like the obstacles to developing cultural competence and cultural humility, understanding resistance to multicultural training. And it was talking about like, it opened it up with like 4 different reactions to this textbook has become like one of the main reading materials for multicultural classes and like I think in like counseling and other programs of that sort. And just the reactions that they've gotten. So 2 of the reactions that they opened up, one was a white female, the other one was a white male, then there was a Latina woman, and then an African American male. And they were talking about like these were letters that they got written in. And so both of the white perspectives were just like, how dare you say this, how is this our fault, and like just really angry and kind of feeling like attacked. And like, how could you, why are you spreading these things, and you're racist and da 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 da, and like very defensive. Whereas like the Latina and the African American student was like, thank you for making this textbook, and like basically validating, is that a word? Validating like how I've been feeling and how I've been seen in the world. Like I'm not crazy. And then it was interesting too that the African American male student also said that like he kind of gets joy in seeing like the discomfort of his white counterparts. So they go in and talk about like, what does anger mean? What does defensiveness mean? What does guilt, fear, anxiety, and all of these things mean in this context? And so that's why I said I think I mentioned earlier that I'm excited to take this class because, I think that also like I do believe that Black people cannot be racist because racism is like a systemic oppression of a people, and like we are the oppressed. Now I think that we can be prejudiced, but I don't think that we can be racist, right? But I'm sure other people will argue with me on that. But anywho, I know that this class is really going to make me challenge like what are my prejudices, what are my biases towards white people, but towards other minorities as well, or even other people that are within my race or my class, and where do those biases show up? I don't really remember how I got to this part. I don't. But yeah, I don't remember how I got here. I guess if I remember after I finish this recording and editing it, I'll just come back next week and say. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I was talking about like the MAGA hats, the separation but equal, and so it was talking about. See, I always make it back. In this, it was talking about like how some people who typically white Americans are like, but it's not all of us treating you this way, or this idea that like racism and slavery was so long ago, we're past these times, and it's like this justification that like because you don't have us, you're not whipping us and we're picking cotton or doing whatever else, that we're not like that we're not still in slavery, that we're better as a nation, and we've come so far. And it's like that really wasn't like that. Like slavery itself might have been hundreds of years ago, but that it just keep transforming into other things to dictate and govern and belittle people who were not white, particularly Black people, and like to just like to not acknowledge it, or just like think about in other ways how are, like, you might not be contributing to the system, but like thinking about silence equals death. So how are you not using your privileges, or are you even aware of your privileges, right? So there was like a note that I took that was like, what did it say? It said, awareness is scary. And like becoming aware of something, of just like a general problem and how you relate or don't relate to it, is scary, because it forces you to like basically like, now you know, what are you going to do with that information? Are you going to reflect and figure out like what behaviors you may have that have contributed to whatever the problem is? And like, this can be outside of racism. Like, once you're aware, you know, the idea of when you know better, you do better, right? Once you're aware, are you doing better? Are you making a conscious effort to do better? And you're not always going to get it right. You know, we have to learn from mistakes. We have to learn from fuck ups. But what are you doing to at least try to be better and do better for yourself or for others? And yeah, and I think about that in terms of just like biases and treating other people. It's like, you know, when I'm in an uncomfortable situation, like, and I'm hearing like my friends make jokes, whether they're about white people or whether they're about like people of other races or ethnicities, like, you know, having, it's like an internal struggle of like, is this the time to say something? And it's like, you know I probably should say something and cut this down. But then there's also these other things that creep in. And it's like, I don't want to say, and it's not to say that like my friends are stupid or uneducated, but like in some instances, I don't want to come off as a person that knows it all and I'm better and I'm doing this. Or just like, sometimes it's just like, I know it's wrong, but like maybe I don't know the extent to what it's wrong. So like, I don't want to start a conversation and not be fully aware of like what the root cause is. And it's like, well, bitch, you don't even know what you're talking about. Like, what the fuck? Who said that you was right? You know, I don't know if that makes sense, but and I don't even know if that like makes sense in relation to what I was talking about. But yeah, so I say all that to say is that like, it's interesting that, you know, I'm in this space where I'm becoming a lot more aware and involved in politics in the world around me, and also in this class. And that's something that I've been saying throughout the course of this podcast, was just like timing and like how I was supposed to start my program a year. Like, this would have been, if I had started my program when I did, maybe I would have finished, like maybe I would have been graduated already, or maybe this would be my third year if I realized like, whoa, this is too much. There's really no telling how that would have gone. But you know, it's just the timing of everything, of like how, you know, when I did start the program and I started sex work and like these values, boundaries, consent, and what that looks like in both like being a therapist but also being a dom, and like what power comes with that, where do ethics fall in, and things of that nature. And then having like some of the research coincide. Like I've mentioned how I try to make it a point to, when I can, integrate my sex work background into my like research. I try to, like, if it's making artwork and I get to pick my own subject, I'll do something centered around sex work. Or, you know, I want to write my thesis involving sex work, and just like try to integrate those as much as possible. And so now I think it's really interesting that I'm taking a multiculturalism, why is that word beating my ass right now, class in the middle of an election, at a time where like I'm actually trying to become more aware and involved. So that's my 2 cents on that. Now, y'all, let me talk about this spicy shit. So I just like, I'm actually very proud of myself, because I was a little bit overly ambitious, I would say, with this 28 days of temptation. Like 28 clips every day was a lot. And like, I tried to get ahead of it. Like when I was doing When I recording the void, I had said like, I think I was on like, it was August 8th. So at that point I had only like 5 videos, and I had pre-scheduled up until it was like 9, 10, 11, 12, like 4 more videos. So at that time I only was like 9 videos in, and I still had to do like, I guess 10, like 19 more or something. I taught art, not math, but I had a lot. And then it became a thing where it was like, oh, I'm like struggling the night before to upload it, like edit and upload a clip. And then like the day of, like, cause I was scheduling them to release like midnight that day. But then it became like like I didn't even touch the video. It's the middle of the day. And I had to find a couple minutes to edit the video to release later tonight. Like, and parts of me was like, bitch, just give up, just give up. I was like, no, like I want to do this right. And so I'm glad that I made it through. At the time of this recording, tomorrow will be the last video. So I have 27 days. And I have the video recorded. It's just I literally have to finish some of the last parts of the editing process to upload it. But in doing it, there was that discipline. It was like the consistency. I figured out, like, once I got the hang of it, it was much easier, like how I organize files, like what do I need to get from this, and just like pulling up all the sites, doing them at the same time, scheduling them, making everything pretty. This chicken cold as hell. So yeah, I'm just like really proud of myself, and I didn't know if I was gonna be able to do it, and I'm just glad. Like, so in the month of July, I was releasing clips twice a week, Tuesdays and Saturdays. Then this month I did 28 clips, and then I wanted to transition to a 3 days a week. So starting in September, it'll be Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And I feel confident that I'm in a space where I can actually do that and maintain it. So like my focus moving forward is like, okay, now I have a schedule for my clip releases. Like, let me work more on my active engagement with subscribers and fans and things. So, learning, and like, I think it was interesting. This girl, I want to talk about farting real quick too, but this girl DM'd me and was just like, hey, let me actually have the message. What did she say? Because I was like, huh? Like, I was so thrown off. One of the group chats that I'm in, I definitely haven't been as active as I used to be, because there's been so much going on. And so she DMs me, and she's like, hey, I see you do some fart fetish stuff. I just realized that was a thing 2 days ago, and I'm seriously interested, but I don't know where to start. It's so interesting to me. And I was just really confused, because I was like, y'all know, I've been really wanting to get into fart fetish content, but I haven't actually produced any fart fetish content. And so I was like, where is she getting this from? But apparently I said something a while back, and she had, like, I guess just searched it, and I came up. So she felt the need to come talk to me. And I was just like, I mean, from what I've heard, the girlies be lactose, and they just like, okay, if I want to do some content today, I'm going to just get down a gallon of milk or some shit. And so why did I bring that up? I don't really remember why I brought that up. Oh, so then in conversation, that's what I was saying, is like taking your time, because I've now been in this line of work for a year and what? Let me see. I started in April, June, May, June, July, August. So I've been in this industry for a year and 4 months now, going on 5. And there's been so much growth, like just in like the actual content that I produce, my ideology, how I carry myself, what I care to even entertain or get involved with. Like, there's been so much growth in learning more about myself and where I even want to take this line of work and how these things align. Like, I get ideas every day, and like literally the possibilities are infinite. And so it's just really like taking my time and what can I handle. So like, getting then when opportunities arise, jumping on them, but like not beating myself up, because it was like, shout out Maya Luna, that's my girl. She had said something one day about saying like, there's no traffic in your lane. So and this goes outside of sex work. Like if there's something you want to do, take your time. Why do you even want to do that? What interests about you? And keeping an open mind of like, what else? So yeah, I guess I bring that up is because just like, sometimes I'll be like, dang, like it's really hard to stay motivated when you see other people who step into the industry that are new and they are like monetarily doing better than you, or have like an easier time adjusting. And it's like you start feeling some type of way like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm not attractive enough, or maybe da da da. But it's like there's so many different circumstances that play into that. Maybe that person has more time and maybe they have a little bit more of their own money to invest in it to be more kickstarted, or maybe they have access to certain resources, whereas you don't. Or maybe they just have a natural inclination to like learn some systems easier than you. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know, I just always have fun. So now I'm just kind of like in a space. When I first got in this, I was like, I want to do ignore and foot fetish. And I think it's interesting when I look at my content. I noticed a while ago that it was like I didn't really get as much like foot interest. That my fans are leaning more towards like, I got a nice badonkadonk, okay? I don't got that thinging tatted for no reason, okay? Because this motherfucker be danging, okay? So like leaning more into that of like, okay, ass worship, ass fetish, what can I do with that? And thinking I have really nice titties too. And like I had a fan who, I don't think I had too much titty content, but then like he said something like, I want to see more of this. And I was like, oh, okay. So then like leaning more into that, and not because it was what was, not because of it was what was being requested solely, or not solely because it is what was being requested. I had an interest in it. And I bring that up because, I was saying, like, the whole reason why I'm saying all this is because I was talking to her of like, in talking to her, she's like, oh yeah, I just started this work 2 days ago. And that's what always happens. People get into the sex work industry and it's like, you see all of this success, but then you realize, like I had a friend, sometimes I don't really like when I have friends text me like, oh, I got some nudes. How do I do this? How do I do that? And I'm like, I don't want to be the person that's like, how do I say this? I have a friend reach out, oh, I got this, da da da. How do you do this, that, and the third? And I'm trying to be honest with them in a way of like, it's way more than taking nudes. Like, it's gonna be way more than that. Now, I know when I first started to take it seriously, like, I did have, like, I was doing more nude content and just kind of doing more content that was more towards, like, corn stars. Replace the C with a P. But I was like, that's not really what I want to do, right? Do I have a problem with it? Not necessarily, but it's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to be my brand. And it became a thing of like, and kind of, I talked about this with Pole. It's like, I'm producing this content to serve other people. And it's not really doing what I want to do. Like, do I want to masturbate every day? Absolutely. But do I feel like doing because like, the video that I'm releasing for my birthday tomorrow, when the original video is like 8 minutes, but once I did all of the edits, it was like 6 minutes and 30 seconds. But I had to set up, like, because it was like some cakes and whipped cream stuff. Like I had to set up, put tablecloths everywhere. I had to put like happy birthday decorations and balloons. Like I had to go to the store and buy these props. I had to make like a little cake. I had to put on an outfit, buy the outfit, put on the outfit, do my makeup. Like, so it really took like anywhere from like an hour to an hour and a half of prep to produce a 6 minute and 30-second video. Like I had to do editing. Like I have to edit the video itself, then I have to cut the video down into an enticing trailer and a timeline clip, and then I have to make a cover of it. Like there's so much that goes into it. And so, like, and that's why I don't feel bad anymore. Like some of my videos are $70. I don't know. I know, like, when I'm the ones that are like shorter or don't have like nudity in them, they're usually anywhere between like $9 to like maybe $15, depending on like how long the video is and like what is really the content, right? So I'll just like whatever I feel like. Honestly, that's what it's like. Anywhere, if I feel like the video fits within, it's like anywhere between 9, 10, 11, 12, or $15. Like those are the prices that I give it. Now if it's nudity, which is like I only do topless nudity, if it's that, if my nips is showing, then it's gonna be a minimum of like $40 and up. Now if I'm showing all my goodies, like you get some ass play, you get some titties in here, like you get a lot of stuff. And if it's a longer video, then that's when you start seeing like 50, 70. I think the highest video I have actually is $800. And the only reason why that video is $800 is because the premise of the video is like $800 wallet drain. So like, if you don't know what a drain is, it's like where you are either slowly or fastly basically draining a sub's wallet. So y'all can agree to an amount. Like he's like, okay, well, I have $500 to spend. Now I could drain you over the course of hours with like teasing you slowly till we reach that 500, or it could be like I hit you with a thief in the night and nigga, that shit is mine. So that's the only reason why I have the video priced at 800. And who knows, maybe one day somebody's like, I really just want to spend $800 on Temptress. There you go, buddy. There you go. So yeah, it's like I'll just, and I bring all this up to say is that like if it's something, whether it's sex work or not, like if it's something that you want to do, just fucking do it. Take your time to and learn why you want to do the thing. What does that look like for you? And it's always a thing of like entrepreneurship, like, oh, how do I price things? Whatever the fuck you want to put that price tag on, put that price tag on it. If somebody want it bad enough, they're going to pay for it. But again, like I've been saying, don't be out here trying to give people motherfucking oodles and noodles quality shit for $800 as if it's motherfucking top-notch ramen or something. And I'm not talking about about this top ramen, okay? For those of y'all listening, a little ASMR for you. This is a pack of top ramen noodles. I'm not talking about this. You better not be selling this shit for $800, okay? That shit, if you selling this shit for $800, this shit better be able to write my papers for me. It better be able to like fucking transform into a motherfucking toy and make me fucking nut all over the room. Like this better turn into a transform into a motherfucking car and take me to wherever the fuck I need to go, okay? So you can make whatever prices you want, because if somebody want it bad enough, they're gonna pay for it. But to keep customers coming back, give them a reason to feel like, okay, this is worth $800. Like I would spend another $800 on this, So real quick before I go, because I'm just so proud of myself, right? I got 3 likes. What was this? For the, is that still in my story? Oh, wow. For the 28 days of temptation, I'll just like do all the things that I came up with. Wait, I can go to loyal fans and look that up, because that'll be the easier way. So video store. It really was just like me exploring. To finish a sentence that I didn't really finish before, is like I've been catering a lot to like ass worship content and to titty worship content. And so now I'm in a space, especially having doing this, that I really want to branch out and see like what other things they have. So there's like a wristwatch fetish. Like there's so many different fetishes. It's crazy. So like day one was mesmerizing mango, which is body worship. And that was just like, I think I was nude. And it was just like me teasing my titties and my ass and stuff. And then day two was brunch and a side of teas, girlfriend experience. So this was like an old video because, like I said, I was able to go through my backlog and just like wipe them out. So this girlfriend experience, I like pretended to be on FaceTime with my partner, and was like talking to them that way, or talking to the camera that way. Day three was oilicious booty bounce. It was ass worship and findom. And so I did a lot. Like I told y'all, I was doing GPT's AI platform for not safe for work stuff. And so I did a lot of like scripts, and so I tailored the script to be like ass worship and financial domination. Day four was the ass that broke the bank, a slave's financial ruin. And this day I was on Loyal Fans Alive, and I had this sub who likes to call me on Night Flirt for ass worship, and he happened to call me and he was watching me on live. So I recorded the video, and then I kept it in my archive, and then I ended up releasing it. And it was funny because he bought the video. So I messaged him teasing him, but that's neither here nor there. Day five was burping beauty. Another instance where I was live, and I had cut this from the live video. I started burping, and I burped like 128 times or some shit like that. Day six, pathetic little guy. It was small penis humiliation. I had a bunch of dildos, and then the script was just like, oh, you're so tiny. You're not as big as these. What is this? That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Day 7 was ball busting beatdown, and this was when I went to New York to see Hoodman. I kicked and punched him in the balls. Day 8, River Goddess, ASMR and Goddess Worship. So ball busting beatdown with CBT, cock and ball torture. Day 8, River Goddess, ASMR and Goddess Worship. I was like down by the river, and I was just recording myself playing in the river. Day 9, ASMR rain boot worship, boot and foot worship. Day 10, better things to do 3, ignore foot worship, ASMR. I just set up a chair in the woods and recorded myself on my phone. I'm getting pimples like shit, y'all. Day 11, shrimp cocktails, more small penis humiliation. I'm losing track of the days. Let me see, because I'm giving y'all a little too much information. This is Tales of a Sensual Findom stuff. But I know I got some. I always get questions about like, and I know that was something that I really struggled with, of like the content creation piece of like, what are you even talking about? And so to see what I was talking about, that growth of like, I really didn't understand it. And now to see all that I've been able to do. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 was ass worship, thick and tempting. 13 was more ass worship, and it was oiled up ass worship. Day 14, lather, rinse, repeat. It was more ass worship. It was a shower scene. I lost track of days. So the next one was ass worship, JOY. So JOY is jerk off instructions. Then the next one was locked and loaded, ASMR hair fetish and shower scene. So it was just a video I had taken of me washing my hair one day. The next day was combat chic. It was boot worship, so just me with boots in the camera. The next day was spit, shine, and cum, and it was topless JOI and spit fetish. The next day was strap on supreme, titty, ass, and strap on worship. The next day was silent devotion, titty worship. The next day was better things to do, ignore and foot worship. The next day was oiled up tit worship. The next day was better things to do 5. And so for the most part, the better things to do have been foot worship based, and it's literally like me just putting the camera and having my feet as the main focus and just doing other things. And so this one, Better Things to Do 5, I kind of switched it in the way I had the camera. It was like beneath me while I was in the kitchen cooking, and it was like a giant test, so to make the viewer feel tiny, and then ignoring, and my ass was in focus. Then the next one was curls for the girls, mesmerizing hair fetish, so I took my rollers out. The next one, which I believe is 20, I think this was day 26. Yes, was foot focused. It was office ASMR and foot fetish. The next day was juicy bites, chewing ASMR and mouth fetish. I was eating a turkey burger at the time of this recording. The next one was up close and personal, which is strap on POV and encouraged by. So I just had like my harness with the strap really close in the camera. And so then tomorrow, my birthday finale, right now I'm leaning towards like birthday bliss, but I don't know if that's going to be the title. But that's like, it's tit, ass, and foot worship. So I like play with whipped cream and other things. It's pretty hot. So, you still don't like, just because it's not my birthday no more, don't mean you can go and buy it. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I don't really think, before I go, I've been rapping. I know I've been rapping, y'all. But the Baltimore buses is so ghetto. So I'll leave y'all with that. So when I first started the program, I was driving up to campus twice a week, and that just became too much in the second semester because my car was just like, bitch, I'm tired of your ass. And I was like, I heard you. So I started taking the train, which I started liking because it gave me, instead of trying to focus on not killing myself for other people, for an hour trying to get out here, I could take the train and do either editing podcast stuff or catching up on homework. So it worked out. And now, especially that, I don't have a permanent residence and things are just like a little bit up in the air. And this is like the state of the things that I'm in right now. I'm trying to save money and figure out different things. So I don't know how sustainable this is, but like right now, what I did for the first week was I had taken the train up here, and then because I'm not taking an internship this year, all of my class members are in internship class, and they have to go like straight to our second class after that. So like I had to take the bus, which is fine. So I took the bus to campus, and that was like easy. I was like, oh, okay, it wasn't that bad. And I've grown up taking buses, but like trying to learn a bus system is difficult. And the Baltimore bus system is crazy. They have like 11,000 buses, and trying to figure out like, oh my God. Anyway, so, and then I decided, one of my friends who lives in Baltimore was like, yeah, you can stay at my house. So I'm like, all right. So I spent the night at her house, but she lives like 20 minutes, a little bit over 20 minutes from my campus, and in the opposite direction that anybody is going. So I'm like, fuck. And we don't get out of class till 8 o'clock at night. So it was my intention to take the bus. But now I'm like, I don't really know if I'm going to take the bus that late, because that's giving real ghetto and real yeah. So my co-worker was like, we aren't comfortable with you taking a bus. Like, what do you need to do? Because the other thing was like, when I tried to just kind of see how much an Uber was going to cost, I tried to schedule it. And I don't know if they charge more when you schedule it, which I'm assuming they do because that's what kept popping up. But they wanted like $45. Like, what? I don't even pay that much in 2 weeks. I don't. So I was like, yeah, that's not going to work. But then when I did it in real time, it was like 16. And I was like, that's still a little bit more than I wanted to spend, but that's crazy. So I really don't know how, because Ubers came out my freshman year of college, and Ubers were $3. That's crazy. I don't know. To those of y'all that be Ubering everywhere, I really don't know how y'all do it. I really don't. But anyway, so yeah, it was like one of my cohort members volunteered to take me to her house, and I was like really thankful because I thought class ended at 8:45, but it turns out it ended at 8:15. It was just a lot, but I was still gonna have to wait to the bus till like, because I think the next bus, the stop came at like 8:28, but it was like a 15-minute walk. It was just a lot of factors, and I was like, it's too late at night and I got too much shit on me to be able to do this. I can't. So luckily one of my cohort members was like, it's not completely out of the way. I'll take you. So they took me, and then this morning I was like, when I was leaving my friend's house, I left my classes until 5, and right now it's 4:11. I got here, I've been talking for an hour and 45 minutes now. I got here around like maybe 2:33. Well, no, I've got maybe closer to 2:30. But I left her house earlier so I could try to figure out the bus system, but also because I was like, I wanted to be able to sit down and record. And so yeah, but like getting here was so crazy. I left her like the Baltimore is just such a crazy, unreal place. Like niggas just be walking in the middle of the street like it's a sidewalk. Like I was walking down and then a crackhead just came out the alley. I was like, yo, what the fuck? It was crazy as hell. Like niggas was really arguing at the bus stop. And I was like, I got too much shit on me. Like niggas was packed like sardines on the bus. It's really hard to understand their bus system. So I was like, I gotta figure out something that's more sustainable because this ain't it. But yeah, I think that's all that I really have to say. I can't wait to go. I always be like, when I finish recording, I'm like, I'm gonna go back, and I know I said something crazy. I know I said like, what do I have to correct next week? But hopefully it's not too much. Yeah. So, Mango's message. I feel like I haven't said that in a while. Mango's message. Um, oh, I guess one last in the political realm, and I kind of mentioned it before, is it's just like, a lot of people don't want to vote because of just like the history of voting or feeling like their vote doesn't really count. And I think again that's where the educational system fails us, of like just getting us to really understand the I guess the pipeline, or the process of how our government works, and where like you really feel like it starts from a bottom level. You have to get like your local officials to like that support your ideology to be able to be the person that represents you in Congress, and up. And so I don't know, like if you're, I'm not about to sit here and force you to tell you to vote. But I will say your vote matters, and do the research. Unpack like why you don't feel like why you feel like you don't want to vote, or why you haven't voted, or you know, yeah. Um, what else? Just do whatever the thing is you want to do. Just do it. Start today, not tomorrow, and take your time. Like it's okay. Divine timing is a thing, and as long as you're taking steps forward, because if you might want to do something but you're scared of like, oh, this is going to take me 2 years to do. Well, either you start it and do it, because 2 years will pass in a blink of an eye, or now you're here 2 years later still like, damn, I want to do this, but you could have did it, right? So start today. What else? Check yourself. What are your biases? What else? Price it at whatever that makes sense quality wise, but whatever the fuck you want to price it. What else did I talk about? I don't know, y'all. Okay. Y'all be safe. Make good choices.